Yan. Okay. Okay na. Good afternoon, everyone. So for today, we will be discussing Module 8 entitled Xanthine. Before we start, may we first see the objective for our lesson today. So our number one objective is define xanthines. Our number two is list all available xanthines used in respiratory therapy. And third is differentiate between the clinical indications of xanthines. For the fourth is differentiate between the uses of xanthines and discuss the proposed theories of activity for xanthines. For number six is discuss adverse effects and toxicity of xanthines. And for the last is the student will be able to assess xanthine therapy clinically. So for the definition of terms, we will define xanthine. Xanthines are metal xanthine derivatives of the purine-based xanthines. Ibig sabihin, they are chemically derived from a natural compound called uh, natural compound called xanthine, which belongs to the purine group. These substances are naturally occurring compounds and can be found in a common plants and beverage that we consume every day. For example, theophylline is found in tea, caffeine is found in coffee, and theobromine is found in cocoa. So technically, kapag umiinom tayo ng coffee or tea, we are actually consuming small amounts of xanthines. However, in respiratory therapy, these compounds are used in purified and controlled forms for medical purposes. In clinical practices, xanthines are used to relax bronchial smooth muscle. Ibig sabihin, pinaparelax nila ang muscle sa airways para bumuka ang dana ng hangin. This result in bronchodilation, which helps improve airflow in patients with obstructive lung diseases like asthma and COPD. Next slide. They produce bronchodilation through two main mechanisms. First, they increase CAMP levels by inhibiting the enzyme phosphodiesterase. Normally, phosphodiesterase break down SIAMs. But when this enzyme is inhibited, tumataas ang SIAM level inside the smooth muscle cells. Kapag mataas ang SIAM, nagre-relax ang bronchial smooth muscles, leading to airway dilation. Second, xanthine blocks adenosine receptors. Adenosine can cause bronchoconstriction or airway narrowing. So when xanthines block this receptor, they help bronchospasm and maintain airway patency. Aside from bronchodilation, xanthines also produce other systemic effects. They cause CNS stimulation which increases alertness pero pwede ring magdulot ng restlessness, nervousness or insomnia. They also cause cardiac stimulation, meaning they can increase heart rate and sometimes cause palpitations. In addition, they have a mild diuretic effect. So they can increase urine output. One very important point to remember, guys, is that xanthines have a narrow therapeutic margin. Maliit lang ang pagitan ng therapeutic dose at toxic dose. Because of this, blood level must be carefully monitored, especially with drugs like theophylline. If the level becomes too high, it can lead to serious toxicity such as arrhythmias or seizures. So lagi nating tatandaan na xanthines are naturally derived metalaxin bronchodilators that relax the bronchial smooth muscle by increased SIAM and blocking adenosine receptors. Pero because of the narrow therapeutic margin and systemic effects, they require a monitoring in clinical use. So next slide. So Now let's discuss the different xanthin used in respiratory therapy. So first we have the theophylline. This is the most commonly used commonly used xanthin in respiratory care. Usually, it is given in oral sustained release forms. Kapag sinabing sustained release, ibig sabihin, dahan-dahan siyang nare-release sa bloodstream over a longer period of time. Because of this, mas stable ang blood levels and mas suitable siya for maintenance therapy rather for emergency situations. Ginagamit ang theophylline for long-term management of asthma and COPD, especially in patients who are not adequately controlled with inhaled bronchodilators alone. Pero hindi siya first line therapy ngayon because of its narrow therapeutic range. And kaya very important ang regular monitoring ng serum theophylline levels to avoid the complications like yun nga arrhythmias or seizures. Next is we have aminophylline. Aminophylline is actually a water soluble salt or a water soluble salt of theophylline. Dahil water soluble siya, mas madali itong ma-administer intravenously. This makes aminophylline useful in hospital settings, especially during acute severe asthma attacks. In emergency cases where inhaled medications are not enough, aminophylline can be given IV to provide systemic bronchodilations. However, just like theophylline, kailangan din itong i-monitor closely because it can cause serious side effects if the blood levels become too high. For the next slide, third drug. For the third drug is diphylline. Compared to theophylline, diphylline has a fewer drug interactions. Ibig sabihin, mas konti ang medication na makakaapekto sa blood levels nito because it may be considered in patients who are taking multiple medications. It is less potent than theophylline and not as widely used in modern practices. And lastly, we have the caffeine citrate. Caffeine citrate, although commonly associated with coffee in respiratory therapy, caffeine citrate plays a very important role in neonatal care. It is the first-line treatment for apnea of prematurity. In premature infant, the respiratory center in the brain is not yet fully developed. Kaya nagkakaroon sila ng episodes of apnea. Yung caffeine citrate, ini-stimulate niya yung central nervous system and ini-improve niya rin yung respiratory drive, helping this infant breathe more regularly. Compared to theophylline, caffeine has a wider therapeutic margin in neonates, and it is generally safer and easier to manage. So, so to summarize, theophylline is mainly used for maintenance therapy in asthma and COPD. Aminophylline is the IV form used in acute severe asthma. And yung diaphylline has a fewer drug interaction but is less commonly used, and the caffeine citrate is very important in treating apnea of prematurity. And for the next slide is history of among these sa apat na yan, theophylline and caffeine citrates are the most commonly used in modern practices. Yun. Slide. History of xanthins. Sa history of xanthins, xanthins are naturally occurring compounds that are found in plants such as coffee and tea. So, even in daily life, exposed tayo sa xanthins through beverages like coffee. So one of the earliest recognized one of the sorry. Earliest rec- One of the earliest recognized xanthin is caffeine, which become known because of its stimulant effect on a central nervous system. Napansin noon na ang caffeine na hini-help niya nag-i-increase yung alertness and nagre-reduce ng fatigue. Kaya nagkaroon ng interest yung mga scientist-related compounds. In the e- in the early 20th century, theophylline was identified as a bronchodilator. This discovery was very important in respiratory care. Dati, bago pa ma-develop ang inhaled medications, theophylline was one of the main treatments for asthma. For many years, xanthines were considered primary oral bronchodilator for obstructive lung diseases such as asthma and COPD. So, ibig sabihin sila talaga ang pangunahing gamot noon for airway relaxations. For next slide. Pero with the development of inhaled beta agonists and corticosteroids, the use of xanthines gradually declined. Mas naging preferred ang inhaled medications because they are more targeted to the lungs and generally safer. There are several reasons why na nag-decrease yung paggamit ng xanthines. First ay they have a therapeutic range. Second, they require regular serum level monitoring to prevent toxicity. And third, they are associated with significant side effects, especially affecting the heart and central nervous system. Despite the reduced use today, xanthines are still important in certain situations. They may still be used in selected asthma and COPD patient as alternative or adjunct therapy. Very important pa rin sila in neonatal care, particularly caffeine preparations for apnea of prematurity, uh, where 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 they help stimulate breathing in premature infants. So overall, xanthin play a major historical role in respiratory therapy, and although their uses has decreased, they still have a specific important clinical applications today. So yun, for the next.
So we are now going to talk about the clinical indications for the use of xanthines. First is we have the use in asthma. So, ang sustained release po ng theophylline ay ginagamit po as an alternative maintenance therapy po para sa mga may mild or may persistent asthma. So, sa mga pasyenteng older than 5 years old po. So, ito po yung tinatawag na step 2 therapy. So, pwede rin po siyang gamitin sa step 3 and higher, kasama po yung inhaled corticosteroid o yung ICS po. Pero importante po na malaman natin na ang theophylline ay less preferred kumpara po sa low dose ICS, cromolyn-like agents o anti-leukotrienes bilang second line maintenance po sa stable asthma. So lastly, lagi po natin tatandaan na itong theophylline po sa paggamit ng asthma hindi po recommended sa mga bata na mas bata po sa 5 years old o kahit sinong pasyente po na may acute asthma attack. So, dito naman po sa COPD, sa management ng stable COPD, bronchodilators po talaga ang pinaka-main treatment for symptom control. So, according po sa Global Initiative for Chronic Obstructive Lung Disease or yung GOLD guidelines po natin, mas preferred po ang inhaled bronchodilators kung available. So, although effective po ang theophylline sa COPD, nire-recommend lang siya as alternative option dahil ito pong drug na ito may risk po siya na toxicity po. So, mas inuuna pa rin ang inhaled beta-2 agonist at anticholinergic agents po. So, based din sa studies at meta-analysis po, hindi recommended ang statins tulad po ng theophylline sa COPD exacerbation. Even ang IV aminophylline, hindi po siya napapakita ng significant benefit compared po sa beta-2 agonist at anticholinergic therapy. Next is we have the apnea of prematurity. So sa apnea of prematurity, kapag kailangan po ng gamot para ma-stimulate ang breathing po ng ating pasyente or ng baby, ang kailangan po is yung methylxanthines po yung pinaka-first line treatment po natin. Pero traditionally po, theophylline ang pinakamadalas gamitin. Pero according to some experts, mas preferred na ngayon ang caffeine citrate. So, mas maganda kasi ang penetration nito sa cerebrospinal fluid and mas mataas po yung therapeutic index at mas kaunti po yung side effects kumpara po sa theophylline. So, itong caffeine citrate po ito, katulad po ng sinabi po ni Yasmin kanina, approved po ito. So, it is approved either intravenously or orally po. So, mas flexible siya gamitin. So, how statins are given ng prepare? So, titrating theophylline doses. Theophylline shows wide variability in therapeutic effects because patients metabolize it at different rates. Determining the correct dose is challenging, especially since different forms of the drug are not equivalent to their theophylline content. So in the past po, the clinical use of theophylline was questioned due to its wide variability in therapeutic effects. So it was later discovered that individuals metabolize theophylline at different rates, so making it difficult to determine a standard therapeutic dose. So this is further complicated because different forms or salts of the drug are not always equivalent in the amount of active theophylline they contain. So, makikita po natin dito, equivalent doses of theophylline salts. Kapag nagbibigay po tayo ng theophylline, kailangan po i-titrate muna yung dose kasi iba-iba po yung metabolism ng ating pasyente. So, ang target serum level natin is 5 to 10 for COPD and 5 to 15 microgram per ml for asthma. So, ang standard natin dito ay anhydrous theophylline, which is 100% pure. Pero iba yung salts. Like oxtrifilin, we have 64% lang yung theophylline content niya. So, ibig sabihin po, 100 milligram lang, 100 milligram lang ng anhydrous theophylline ang kailangan mo ng 156 milligram ng oxtrifilin o 127 milligram ng aminophylline para pare-pareho po sila ng effect. So, may difilin din, pero derivative lang siya. Mga 1/10 lang po yung potency ng theophylline. Kaya dapat lagi nating minomonitor yung serum level para safe at effective po yung dose na binibigay po natin. So, dito sa serum levels of theophylline, importante yung serum level ng theophylline kasi dito natin malalaman kung effective ba at safe yung dose na binibigay natin. So kung less than 5 milligrams per ml, wala po talagang effect. Para sa asthma, target po natin ay 5 to 15 milligrams per ml at para naman po sa mga COPD patient po natin is 5 to 10 milligram per ml. So kapag umaabot po siya sa greater than 20 milligram per ml, pwede pong makaramdam ang ating pasyente ng pagkahilo. And also kapag greater than 30 milligram per ml, may risk po sa heart natin, pwede pong magkaroon ng heart arrhythmias. And kapag umabot naman po ng 40 to 45 milligrams per ml, pwede po siyang magkaroon ng seizures. So kaya kailangan nating lagi nating need i-monitor yung serum level kasi iba-iba yung metabolism ng ating pasyente at kahit na nasa therapeutic range, pwede pa rin pong magkaroon ng side effects kung mabilis po ang absorption o sensitivity ng pasyente. So dito makikita po natin sa table A3, ito po yung theophylline content of salts of theophylline with amount needed for equivalence to 100% anhydrous theophylline. So para po maintindihan natin tong table na to, isipin po natin na parang kape to, no? So yung mga coffee lover, di ba? So may mga kape na pure powder at meron din po yung kape na 3-in-1. So kung gusto po natin ng parehong tapang ng kape, mas marami dapat yung tinitimpla mo kung 3-in-1 ang gamit mo kumpara po sa pure powder. Kasi we have here the theophylline, yung percentage. Isipin natin yung theophylline, yan yung tapang o yung concentration, no? So hindi lahat ng theophylline ay 100% pure. So meron tayo ditong theophylline anhydrous which is 100%. We have theophylline monohydrate is 91%. Aminophylline anhydrous, we have 86%. Aminophylline dihydrate, we have 79%. And oxyphylline is we have 64%. So makikita natin no ang pinakamataas na percentage is we have the theophylline anhydrous and yung pinakamababa naman na concentration is we have oxyphylline. So ibig sabihin sa bawat tablet po, no, meron siyang 64% lang na actual na gamot and yung rest po yung salt component lang. So dito naman makikita natin sa right side yung equivalent dose milligram. So ito po yung dami at dapat na inumin dahil magkakaiba po sila ng tapang, kailangan po nating i-adjust yung dami, yung dose para makuha po yung epekto ng 100 mg ng pure theophylline. So tandaan po natin, kapag bumaba po yung percentage ng ating pure theophylline sa isang salt, kailangan tataas po natin ng dose, yung milligram na binibigay po natin sa pasyente para maging pareho pa rin po yung effect nito and mas effective po yung dose na binibigay natin. So kapag as an RT, napaka-importante po kung ano po yung specific na salt ang gamit dahil may tendency po yung pasyente natin mag-underdose or mag-overdose dahil sa maling computation. Next is we have ito yung katulad na sabi ko kanina, dosage must be titrated to clinical effectiveness, avoidance of side effects, and most precisely a therapeutic serum level of 5 to 10 microgram per ml in COPD management and 5 to 15 microgram per ml in asthma management. So in dosage schedules of theophylline, so sa theophylline dosing varies kasi iba-iba po ulit. Sabi po natin kanina, iba-iba po yung metabolism ng bawat pasyente. Kung bago sa drug, may loading dose tayo na 5 mg per kilo ng lean body weight para mabilis po magkaroon ng effect. So sa long-term therapy, slow titration po ang ginagawa, usually 16 mg per kilo per 24 hours o 400 mg per 24 hours. Depende po kung alin ang mas mababa. So kailangan din natin i-adjust sa age o yung heart, kung may heart problems or may liver problems at iba pa pong factors na pwedeng makaapekto po sa serum level. So for monitoring, kung immediate release, sample 1 to 2 hours after dose. Pero kung sustained release naman po, sample 5 to 9 hours after morning dose. Next is we have the proposed theories activities. So dito sa inhibition of phosphodiesterase, theophylline is a weak and non-selective PDE inhibitor po. In theory of inhibiting PDE increases CAMP ayun, CAMP sa cells natin, which leads to bronchial relaxation and may anti-inflammatory effect din po. Pero sa mga clinical doses na ginagamit sa tao, theophylline is actually a poor inhibitor ng enzyme. Kaya maaring hindi ito fully explained and hindi siya fully explained po yung therapeutic effect niya. And by the way po, yung PDE is a general term na may 11 different families and iba-iba po sila sa tissue distribution, substrate, specificity, and sensitivity po sa inhibitors. So dalawa sa CAMP, hydrolyzing PDEs, PDE3 at PDE4 ay maaring may role po sa asthma. So ang PDE4 naman ay matatagpuan sa ating airway smooth muscles, pulmonary nerves, and pang pwede po sa ating mga immune and inflammatory cells. Kaya po ang PDE4 inhibitors nakatulong po siya sa mga may asthma, asthma inflammation dahil hindi nila pinapayagan na ma-degrade ang CAMP sa target cells and nagpo-promote po siya ng anti-inflammatory effect ng theophylline at iba po pong xanthines. Now, another theory po is the antagonism of adenosine. So, it works by blocking adenosine. Isang substance po ito na nakaka-affect rin sa ating bronchial muscles. So, adenosine normally stimulates A1 and A2 receptors. So, A1 inhibits CAMP and nagkakaroon po tayo ng bronchoconstriction. Habang ang A2 naman, pinapataas niya po yung CAMP and nagre-result po sa bronchodilation. So, theophylline blocks both receptors, so nakakapigil sa contraction ng ating smooth muscle. Pero ang interesting po dito, yung N-profilin po, mas effective and mas mag-relax po yung muscle kaysa sa theophylline. Pero hindi ito nakakapag-block ng adenosine, kaya hindi ito fully explanatory. Plus, A1 receptors sa smooth muscles, medyo konti lang po itong mga A1 receptors natin. And sa studies sa animals, it shows na A2 receptor stimulation may effect din po sa muscle relaxation. Next, last theory, we have the catecholamine release. Isa pa tong theory kung paano gumagana yung xanthines ay sa pamamagitan po ng pag-release ng endogenous catecholamines. So tulad po ng epinephrine. So ang epekto po nito, pwede pong mag-relax ang bronchial muscles, pero pwede rin po magdulot siya ng tremor ng muscles o tinatawag po natin na tachycardia. Pero ang interesting po sa studies nito, it is about the plasma catecholamine level shows mixed result po. So may mga studies na tumataas at may iba na wala rin pong change. So next, reporter.
Okay, for the adverse effects of theophylline naman, okay, it is very important to know, maraming beses na nabanggit kanina, that our theophylline is, this is very important to know that it is a systemic bronchodilator. Ibig sabihin, unlike other inhalers natin, hindi siya directly napupunta sa lungs. This, nagsisirculate muna siya sa mga bloodstream natin and affect multiple organs. Kaya, sobrang dami niyang side effects. No, now we're going to tackle these side effects and let's proceed to the next slide. These are the adverse reactions seen with theophylline treatment organized by organ system. Makikita po natin dyan, since it's a systemic bronchodilators, okay, maraming system ang na-affect niya kasi dumadaan siya sa ating bloodstream. And sabi dito, theophylline has a narrow therapeutic margin. Nabanggit kanina that even though the therapeutic level of a theophylline natin is 10 to 20 mg per milliliter, no, it has a very narrow therapeutic margin. Anong ibig sabihin? It simply means that merong sobrang small ng gap in between the effective dose and yung toxic dose niya. So, even sa mga normal dosing na binibigay natin, even though wala siyang standard dose, okay, sa mga normal dosing na akala mo normal, okay, pwede siyang mag-cause ng toxicity pa rin. Kaya kinakailangan ng strictly or mandatory na blood monitoring. No, it has a very lot of effects dito sa ating central nervous system because, okay, sabi nga kanina, our theophylline is found on teas. Okay, like caffeine, no, it of course stimulate yung mga nervous system natin. But since we're talking about the adverse effect, no, once na sumobra ka sa intake ng theophylline, nagkakaroon siya ng overstimulation. Okay, na-overstimulate yung ating mga nervous system. Okay, sumusobra yung effect ng theophylline natin. That's why it can cause, ayan, yung headache, your anxiety, your restlessness, okay, your insomnia, your tremor, and your convulsions. So we also have your gastrointestinal system, yung effect ng ating theophylline sa ating gastrointestinal system kasi sobrang nakaka-increase po ng gastric acid natin, gastric acid secretions natin yung ating theophylline kasi it stimulates the smooth muscle activity of our gastrointestinal system. That's why yung patients may feel yung nausea, yung mga vomiting, mga anorexia, okay, abdominal pain, and even your diarrhea. But sabi dito, your gastric upset, your headache, your anxiety, your CNS adverse effect, and nervousness are not unusual, pero less toxic sila, less toxic na side effects pa sila. Kumbaga, mga warning signals pa lang sila. Ang toxic effects can show your arrhythmias and your seizures. Okay? Kasi when the levels of your theophylline becomes too high, okay, na-overstimulate yung nervous system natin, okay? Like for example, in your arrhythmias, it can increase your cardiac contractility ng heart muscles mo, okay? Increase the stimulation, increase yung contraction ng heart mo hanggang sa mapapagod yung heart mo, and then it will cause an abnormal heart rhythm na. Same with the seizures, okay, kapag na-overstimulate yung CNS mo, okay, nagkakaroon ng uncontrolled na neuronal firing yan. Okay, take note that sa seizures na adverse effect, okay, it can occur biglaan siya. So, pwedeng hindi siya dumaan sa mga warning signals effect, pero dediretso sa seizures. So, kaya let's pay attention, okay, sa ating mga mild symptoms, okay? Even the simple headache, the anxiety, basta alam mo nagtitake ka na ng theophylline, you need to be mindful of those symptoms. Okay, another highlight here is the diuretic effect. Okay, should be noted in patients with excess airway secretion with adequate fluid replacement when necessary to prevent dehydration and thickening of secretions. Okay, ang theophylline natin, it increases the kidney blood flow. So, ibig sabihin na overstimulate yung kidney blood flow, okay, tumataas yung urine output natin. At kapag mataas yung urine output natin, marami tayong nilalabas na ihi, okay, it can cause dehydration. It is very important for us to take a note of this, no, as a respiratory therapist. Kasi sa mga pasyente natin with respiratory diseases, no, once the body become dehydrated, okay, nagtitiken yung mucus natin, mas mahirap siyang i-expectorate, mas mahirap siyang ilabas. Okay, so kailangan ng fluid monitoring na naman dyan. Okay, for to prevent this, you need to have the adequate fluid replacement para ma-prevent yung dehydration and thickening. So, kapag nagtitake ka ng theophylline, okay, you need to also drink a lot of water para ma-replace yung, at least ma-replace yung mga urine output na nilalabas mo. Minor side effects may provide lethal warning before serious toxic effect occurs. Yung sabi ko nga kanina, no, sometimes, no, for in case of the adverse effect of theophylline, nagja-jump siya, nag-occur siya suddenly. So, pwedeng mag-jump off siya from your minor side effects. Okay, pupunta agad siya sa pinaka-toxic level. So, next. These are naman the factors that affect your theophylline. Okay? Next slide. Okay, nalaman natin, for previous lessons natin, di ba, our theophylline is metabolized, or like any drugs are metabolized in our liver. So anything that affects the liver can change the serum level, okay? Na na ano yung serum level, and changes in serum level in the case of theophylline can um increase the levels, okay, of theophylline in your blood. So ito yung mga dahilan kung bakit nag-i-increase and nagdi-decrease yung ating mga theophylline levels sa blood natin. Sabi dito, viral hepatitis and left ventricular failure causes elevated serum levels of theophylline for a given dose because of decreased liver metabolism of the drug. So sabi nga kanina, di ba, anything that affects the liver can affect also the metabolism of the drug. So kapag merong mga liver diseases yung ating mga pasyente, tumataas yung serum levels ng theophylline. Therefore, nagdi-decrease yung liver metabolism niya. Nag-i-stay yung drug, okay, doon sa blood. Okay, hanggang sa mag-accumulate siya doon, hanggang sa magkaroon ng risk sa toxicity. Mas mataas pa yung risk sa tataas yung risk sa toxicity niya. For smoking naman, it may stimulate liver enzymes. Okay? Sa smoking naman, kapag naninigarilyo tayo, okay, yung mga taong naninigarilyo, nag-i-stimulate yun ng mga liver enzymes nila. Ibig sabihin, okay, mas maraming magme-metabolize doon sa drug. Okay, kapag nangyari yon, okay, magdi-decrease yung serum levels, ibig sabihin, masyadong mabilis yung pag-broke down sa drug. Ibig sabihin, parang hindi nagiging ineffective yung theophylline natin. Therefore, the smoker will need a higher doses. Okay? Mas kailangan niya ng higher dose ng theophylline, therefore increasing also the risk of toxicity din. Some drugs may increase or decrease theophylline levels. So meron din tayong drug interactions that affects the blood levels of theophylline natin, such as itong example dito, yung isoniazid, okay, the TB drug, and your loop diuretics, ganyan, they either inhibit or induce the metabolism of the drug. Your beta agonist also, okay, meron siyang additive effect. Ibig sabihin, it can both increase, okay, bronchodilation. Okay, dalawa yung effect niya. It increase bronchodilation and increase cardiac stimulation. We also have to take note that reversal of neuromuscular blockers, theophylline can reverse the paralyzing effect of non-depolarizing neuromuscular blocking agents. Okay, nire-reverse niya daw yung non-depolarizing neuromuscular blockers, okay, kasi nag-i-increase yung acetylcholine release, okay, and enhances the muscle activity. Yun lang, you have to just take note, okay, that most importantly dito yung ating liver, okay, kasi doon na may metabolize yung drug. So, anything that has to affect the liver may also affect the metabolism of your theophylline. Next. Now, let's move on to the clinical uses of your theophylline. It is used in asthma. So, nabanggit kanina, di ba, sa indications ng ating mga Santins, okay? They are used, okay, kapag sa mga asthma, nagiging kinakailangan natin minsan ng mga theophylline. But it also highlight din kanina that theophylline was never the first line drug in treating such disease or yung asthma natin. Sabi dito, theophylline has been relegated to the level of a second line or third line drug siya in treating asthma. And kino-consider lang siya as a treatment if yung mga first-line asthma drugs natin like your beta agonist and your anti-inflammatory therapy fail to control your symptoms. So, ibig sabihin, no, kapag merong pasyente na nag-asthma attack, hindi agad naging option yung theophylline. Like, nasa pinaka-last to be considered siya. If hindi na gumana yung mga first-line asthma drugs natin, that's when papasok yung theophylline natin, no? Pero as much as possible, no, hindi nagiging first line drug yung ating theophylline sa pagtitreat ng asthma dahil yung mga first line asthma drugs natin, okay, makes sense kasi targeted yung ano nito, targeted itong mga beta agonist natin, yung mga inhaled corticosteroids natin, 'di ba? Targeted yung organ na ititreat nila. Ibig sabihin diretso sila sa lungs. And if you take theophylline na inaasma yung pasyente, okay, iikot-ikot pa yan sa bloodstream ng pasyente, no? Hindi niya mata-target yung ating lungs, which is yun yung main problem dito sa asthma condition natin. So hindi siya safe, hindi siya mabagal siya, and hindi niya tina-target yung targeted organ, which is the lungs. So nagiging last option siya dito. Next, it is also used in the COPD or your chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Again, okay, ginagamit siya, nabanggit na din to kanina, as a maintenance agent in COPD kapag hindi gumana yung mga first mga first line drug mo in treating your COPD, like yung mga labas mo, okay, your long acting beta agonist mo, such as your salmeterol, your formoterol, and your moterolofers. Okay, yung mga usually ginagamit. Okay, they are preferred. Yung mga labas natin, they are preferred kasi longer acting sila, and again, targeted. Okay, targeted yung effect nila. Local yung effect nila. Unlike, again, our theophylline na systemic yung effect niya. So, again, in COPD, okay, option siya pero hindi siya prefer. Okay, next, it also is used on your acute COPD exacerbation. Next slide. Okay, in your acute COPD exacerbation, sabi dito, okay, along with your aminophylline, no, theophylline are listed in GOLD guidelines for acute exacerbation. Pero again, hindi siya prefer. No, it is meron siya mga contraindications kasi yung mga adverse effect niya na nabanggit natin kanina, your GI infection, okay, ingestion of large amount of caffeine from other sources such as tea or coffee. So, again, ganun din, acute COPD exacerbation, nagiging option siya, pero hindi siya prefer. Mas prefer pa rin natin yung ating mga may local effect na mga bronchodilators. Next. Ayan, ginagamit din siya sa apnea prematurity. Now, this is very important kasi, di ba sa premature babies natin kasi, mga premature baby natin, okay, yung respiratory centers nila sa brain nila is immature. Okay, very immature pa yung mga respiratory center nila sa brain nila. Ngayon, when you take theophylline kasi, di ba, it stimulates your nervous system. So, it stimulates also your central nervous systems, which is nandun yung brain and spinal cord mo. So, it stimulates your brain. Okay, na-stimulate niya yung respiratory center sa brain ng mga babies, therefore, stimulating also the central ventilatory drive na matatakel pa ulit natin mamaya. Pero, again, okay, hindi siya prefer yan. Sabi dito, however, caffeine is preferable to theophylline for various pharmacologic reasons. Ayan, naka-indicate yan yung mga reasons kung bakit, again, sineset aside ang theophylline in use of at treating the apnea of prematurity. Kasi, makes sense kasi yung caffeine natin is, it penetrates more readily. Okay, it more potent stimulant of the CNS. Okay, simple siya, mas simple siya ibigay, and predictable yung result niya, and also meron siyang mas malawak na therapeutic margin yung ating caffeine. So, especially sa mga babies natin, di ba, we can't go wrong, okay, in treating the apnea of prematurity kasi sobrang daming side effects ng theophylline, kaya mas prefer na ang caffeine sa pagtitreat. Next. Okay, yun, no? So, in short, in clinical uses of the theophylline natin, okay, take note that it is an option, okay, pero hindi siya hindi siya nagiging first line drug. Now, let's move on to your non-bronchodilating effect of theophylline. So, most of us thinks that it only open the airways, no? Ino-open nilang yung airways natin, but it does more. Okay? It does more than just bronchodilating effect. First, non-bronchodilating effect of theophylline includes, next slide please. Next slide. Your respiratory muscle strength and your respiratory muscle endurance. Okay? So theophylline can increase the force of respiratory muscle contractility. Okay, when you talk about respiratory muscle contractility, okay, our diaphragm, it talks about our diaphragm. So it increase our diaphragm contractility because our diaphragm is a muscle. Okay, this effect is thought to inhibit or reverse muscle fatigue and subsequently ventilatory failure. Same with respiratory muscle endurance. No, our methyl-xanthines also show evidence of increasing respiratory muscle endurance and strength. Fatigue of the respiratory muscles can be prevented, especially with increased resistance. So, for example, sa mga patient natin na may COPD, okay, yung respiratory muscle natin dito, okay, dahil hirap sila sa pag-exhale, okay, nagiging napapagod yung respiratory muscles natin. So, theophylline, okay, can improve the muscles contractility, okay, by increasing yung calcium na nasa loob ng mga muscle cells natin. So, by improving the contractility, okay, dinedelay niya daw yung respiratory muscle fatigue. Okay, that, sabi dyan, bine-prevent niya yung fatigue ng respiratory muscles. At the same time, nire-reverse niya yung ventilatory failure. Next. Next slide. Another non-bronchodilating effect of the theophylline is our central ventilatory drive. Nabanggit natin kanina yan sa ating sa use niya sa apnea of prematurity, hindi ba? Kasi, okay, theophylline may have non-bronchodilating advantages in patients with COPD who have also cardiac disease or yung disease natin ng cor pulmonale. Theophylline increases cardiac output, decreases pulmonary vascular resistance, and improve myocardial muscle perfusion in ischemic regions. Kasi nga, okay, our theophylline stimulates the respiratory drive sa brainstem natin. So, it increases also the phrenic nerve activity, okay? And we all know that the phrenic nerve natin, nag-i-innervate siya sa respiratory muscle natin, which is our diaphragm. So therefore, increasing the activity of your phrenic nerve will also increase the contractility or activity of your diaphragm. That's why nakakatulong siya sa apnea of prematurity kasi it stimulates also your central ventilatory drive and by increasing the phrenic nerve activity. Yan, meron din siyang yan, increases cardiac output. Ibig sabihin, meron siyang mga cardiovascular effects also. Okay, it increases the output by decreasing also your pulmonary vascular resistance. Like, for example, in your cor pulmonale, di ba? Yung theophylline natin, nakakapag-improve siya ng circulation doon. Next. Ayan, for the anti-inflammatory effects naman of our theophylline, no, it has a lot of anti-inflammatory effects. So even maganda dito kasi ang sabi these anti-inflammatory effects occur at lower plasma concentrations, 9 to 10 milligrams per milliliter, than those required for bronchodilation. So other bronchodilators agents natin, okay, kinakailangan na mataas na dosage bago magkaroon ng benefit na anti-inflammatory effects. Unlike here sa theophylline natin, no, even at lower plasma concentration, it gives these anti-inflammatory effects na. First is our theophylline inhibits your CAMP and specific phosphodiesterase enzymes, specifically your PDE3 and your PDE4. Okay, we all know that our PDE3 and your PDE4, okay, mga ano sila, mga pro-inflammatory cells sila. So, ini-inhibit ng theophylline yung CAMP-specific phosphodiesterase enzymes natin. Kapag na-inhibit itong mga PD natin, okay, mag-i-increase ngayon yung CEMP mo kasi wala naman nang magbe-breakdown sa kanila na enzymes. So, tataas yung CEMP mo and then kapag tumaas ang CEMP mo, okay, it will reduce the activation and also reduce the release of these inflammatory mediators. Okay, so nagiging less aggressive itong mga inflammatory cells natin. Okay, parang itong theophylline nilolower niya yung volume by inhibiting the yung mga PD enzymes natin and increasing the CAMP count. Pangalawa, it decreases the migration of survival of eosinophils in bronchial mucosa. It reduces the T cell proliferation and accumulation in atopic asthma. Also, ini-inhibit niya yung mga pro-inflammatory cytokines natin na yan, such as our IL-18, your TNF, and your anti-interferon, which is your pro-inflammatory cytokines. Pero, at the same time, okay, ini-increase niya yung anti-inflammatory cytokine mo, which is your IL-10. Okay, so, again, sinishift niya yung aggressive na response natin from aggressive, sinishift niya lang into control. Okay, it also reduce your airway responsiveness. Okay, nire-reduce niya yung hyper-responsiveness ng mga airway natin from your stimuli. So, nagre-reduce siya ng allergic reaction. Okay, take note that our theophylline also increases, okay, take note of this, your histone deacetylase enzymes, which are needed by corticosteroids to reduce your inflammation. So, theophylline daw natin, okay, this is a bit advanced, pero our theophylline daw increases yung activity ng HDAC natin, which is your histone deacetylase enzymes natin, which is kinakailangan yon ng ating corticosteroids para masuppress yung inflammatory genes natin. So, ibig sabihin, kapag mataas ang HDAC, okay, mataas din ang activity ng corticosteroids natin para mag-reduce ng inflammation. Like for example, sa mga may severe asthma or sa mga COPD patient natin kasi, okay, sa mga pasyente natin ganun, mababa yung HDAC nila, yung mga enzymes nilang histone deacetylase. So, mababa yung HDAC nila. Ibig sabihin, yung corticosteroids nila nagiging less effective. So, theophylline comes to the rescue, i-restore niya yung activity ng HDAC enzymes mo. Kaya, it will make your corticosteroids work better. Okay? Next. Okay, so that sums up our discussions about the xanthines, and